Welcome to another episode of Meal Prep Monday. I'm your host, Allison Schaaf. Today's topic is leverage versus productivity. Before we dive in, a quick reminder that if you have not tried our time-saving meal prep meal plans, you can head to prepdish.com/podcast to download a free week. All of the links that you need for checking out Prep Dish are also in the show notes. Okay, so leverage versus productivity. The idea for this episode came from a mastermind/conference that I attended back in April. One of the speakers, Eric Jorgenson, talked about a lot about leverage. And I'm not exactly sure if his book is on this topic, but I know he has a course that's like dedicated to leverage. I haven't taken it, but I think his presentation really kind of covered high level what he dives into deeper there. So if you're interested after this to learn more, you could check out his work. But basically, as I was listening to him talk, he went into this idea of leverage versus productivity as it relates to work, and also just kind of personal and life. But a lot of it was centered around, work. But of course, in my mind, I'm like, well, Prep Dish, we talk a lot about productivity. So I'm like, how could this idea of productivity or leverage, it's basically leverage in, I don't know if it's in place of productivity, but leverage is kind of like a superior form of productivity. How can we translate this into meals? So when he talked about leverage, he has 4 types of leverage that you can look into. And what I've done is I've taken each of the 4 types of leverage and, going to discuss what that might look like in terms of leveraging getting your meals done. So let me go through the 4 types just high level before we, get into them with the examples. So the types of leverage, the first one is tools. The second one is products. The third one is people. And the fourth one is capital. So the first one, tools. So what are some tools that you could leverage that would be kind of superior to just being more productive? So the example that I came up with here is a food processor, right? So you could be more productive. We say batch all your chopping, but if you're not very skilled at chopping or, don't want to do it or whatever it is, a lot of times the food processor is a superior way to go, right? Because say you can spend 20 minutes chopping all your vegetables, but maybe with the food processor, it's 10 minutes. So here's an example of where leveraging a tool like a food processor is going to be better than just being more productive. And, there's a lot of different tools in the kitchen where they can, save you time. So leveraging those tools and figuring out what those are for you can be a good way to go. The second type of leverage is products. So, the first one that popped into my head was Prep Dish here, right? You have a product that gives you meal plans each week, right? Like it helps take that time off. Like instead of you being more productive and being like, oh, I'm going to spend an hour or 2 like searching for recipes, making my grocery list, figuring out what we're going to eat next week, you simply kind of delegate that off to Prep Dish. And then the third type of leverage of people. So, how can you have people help out with your meals? So this is something we talk a lot about, especially if you are using the meal plans. You can simply, hand that over to, a spouse, kids. Depending on the age of your kids, you might even literally be able to hand it and say, hey, here, can you help out with this week? If you have a babysitter or a nanny. Even sometimes you have relatives in town, like, maybe your parents or mother-in-law or whoever it is, if someone's visiting for a long time and wanting to help out, kind of depends on the dynamic there. But anyway, people are a great way to get some leverage in getting your meals done. And then the fourth one is capital. So how can you use money to get your meals done? And, the one that came to mind here was you can pay for a chef, right? You can pay for a chef to come into your house and do all of your meals for you. And then all of a sudden the time is taken, that takes the time off of you doing it. So those were the 4 ways that he looked at leverage. And I just thought that was kind of cool that each one of them, you really can translate that into, is there a way to leverage my meals using these tools, products, people, and capital versus it just being me getting in the kitchen and being more productive. So would love to hear from you on this. Are there one of these types or more than one of these types of leverage that you could see incorporating into your own kitchen, into your own process? If so, let me know. I'm at Prep Dish on Instagram. We also have a Facebook group. I will link that in the show notes. If you're not already in there, feel free to start a discussion there on different ways of leveraging, using leverage to get your meals done each week. So that is all I have for today. If you have been a longtime listener and are enjoying this podcast and have not yet left a rating and review, I would so appreciate if you could do that. It just helps other people to find this podcast. And then, of course, a quick reminder too, that if you have not tried our meal plans, you can head to prepdish.com/MPM and do a 2-week free trial. That's really the best way to try out everything. So you have 2 weeks to really look at the archives, look at the meal plans, try out, 2 different weeks, see if it's a fit, before fully committing. So head there to do that. Or if you want, you can also text the number 33777 and the word meal prep for a free 1-week download of a meal plan. That's all for today. I will be back again next Monday with another episode.